Good evening, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to continue the study of international logistics. My name is Felipe. I'd like to invite you to subscribe the channel. If you enjoyed the video, give us a like. Don't forget to support this channel with donations. Start the notifications, share this video with your friends. Follow me in Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Thank you very much. Let us start. If you like, add a commentary, make your question. Remember that every day has a new chapter or a new subject of international logistics and other subjects. Thank you very much. Let us start. The remainder of the document listed rates on specific products including pig iron, tin plate, boilers, window glass, carriages, wines and spirits, rope and wire, soap, thread, and saddlery. A column contained either a M or W for each item, and this stood for measurement, cubic or weight measures, and a note reading, where W or M stated that to be charged which is best for the vessel. This then was the first conference agreement. Later ones were much longer and often were called pooling agreements. This meant that the vessel owners pooled or shared both their vessels in the earnings or profits at the year's end. It was necessary to pool the profits at the year's end in order to keep members sailing on schedule at times of the year when traffic was light. Revenue pools are still used. Mention was made of 1987 agreement in conference carrying cargo for Italy, Spain and French Mediterranean ports to US East and Gulf coasts. It was not clear that the Federal Maritime Commissions would approve the agreement if all conference members had to participate. Last year, 1986, some conference members participated in a pool, but the arrangement did less due to depressed rates and pressure from the major independents. Strong arguments have been made that the United States should not permit conference to exist. Strong arguments in support of conference have also been made. In 1916, Ship and Action Congress, following the advice of what was called the Alexander Report, allowed the conference to call at U.S. ports, although it placed some restrictions on their operations. This pattern has continued to the present. There is a compromise that recognizes both the needs for shipping charters and the potential evils associated with them. Here's an example of how a conference might organize. Assume three lines operating from Central America to Australia. Each has a ship and a round trip takes 3 weeks. They would agree to have a ship sail each Monday and not wait for more cargo. They would charge the same rates and pay the same commissions to follow orders. At the end of the year, they would pool profits, meaning, for example, that each of the three would be guaranteed a minimum of say 25% of the three vessels' combined profits. In order to protect itself from outside competitors, the conference would give customers who agreed to use the conference exclusively a 15% rebate. This discussion will continue by examining in more detail the relationships within the conference among its members, the conference relationships with outside vessels, non-conference or independent carriers, the conference's relationships with shippers, and the conference relationships with governments. The last two parts of the charter deal with conference rates and with service contracts between conference or conference members and shippers. Relationships among conference members. Conferences exist through the world, although they are of varying strengths and frequently reorganized or relinked. The most usual grouping is vessels that sail between two port areas, say the U.S. Gulf ports and ports in the Western Mediterranean. Sometimes the conference covers shipment in both directions, sometimes only one. The reason is that some companies might have their vessels go back and forth, say between the US West Coast and Australia, whereas another line might sail from the United States to Australia, but then its vessel would sail to Japan and then back to the West Coast. The first companies would probably belong to two conferences, the US West Coast to Australia Conference and the Australian to US West Coast Conference, whereas the last line might belong to three conferences, the US West Coast to Australia Conference, the Australia to Japan Conference, and Japan to US West Coast Conference. Often the same carrier belongs to several conferences, and sometimes these conferences compete with each other. One example would be that the same carrier might belong to US Gulf Coast to Baltic Conference and a US North Atlantic Ports to Baltic Conference. Both conferences would compete for a shipment origination, say in Tennessee, and could through either New York or New Orleans, because the same lines belong to several conferences. This serves to limit competitions between conferences. Indeed, different conferences often share the same office staff, and a single office door may have the names of a half dozen different conferences. Some conferences also act trade associations, promoting trade between areas that they serve. Conference members offer uniform to or near uniform service to shippers. They pay equal commissions to forwarders. Each member has a voting rate in other matters, although sometimes votes are weighted, and the conference chair is bargaining agent and spokesperson and is responsible for publishing the tariffs and classifications. Traffic or profits are sometimes pooled, and say at the end of the year, for three-line conference, each member gets at least 25%, but no more than 40% of the revenues or the profits. Experience has shown that conference members are not always honest with each other. Often they will allow a shipper to state a lower wage or lesser classification of this shipment in order to pay lower charges than the conference tariffs and classification call for. A 1991 Trade Journal article says, a Torrance, California-based fresh fruit exporter expects to have understand at cargo volumes in order to cut its freight bills. Thank you very much. Tomorrow continues. Subscribe in the channel. Give us a like.